The Old Man and the Sea, part 17. Now the old man looked up and saw that the bird was circling again. "He's found fish," he said aloud. No flying fish broke the surface, and there was no scattering of bait fish. Remember, imagine you are assembling, a tall house made of Lego, and a person throws, this huge basketball on your house. All the pieces will be scattered in all directions, right? Bait fish could be like fish used as bait, but we can also use this expression to talk about very small fish that later on will be used as bait. So there was no scattering of bait fish. But as the old man watched, a small tuna rose in the air, turned, and dropped head first into the water. The tuna shone silver in the sun, and after he had dropped back into the water, another and another rose, and they were jumping in all directions, churning the water and leaping in long jumps after the bait. They were circling it and driving it. Churning. Originally, guys, I don't know, have you ever thought about how can you get butter out of milk? In the past, let me see if I have anything I can get here. Just a second. Let me get let me get this jar here. Okay, so how would you make butter? Oh, look it up in YouTube. There are some nice videos of people making butter, right? You would, now I can't open the, okay. You would get, there would be a jar like this, I think they would call it churner, I think so. And you would put milk here, and there would be a part here, I don't know if I'm going too far in the explanation, but there would be, like a disc here, okay? And that disc would go into the jar. So when I put the ruler into the jar, imagine this disc here, okay? And you would put lots of milk here, and you would churn it, right? That word was used specifically for this action, for churning butter, right? Because you would, churn it so much, the milk, that you would get butter in the end. You would set aside, the very liquid part of the milk from, the real butter part of the milk. Of course, it would take like a long time to do that. There are some variations of churning. Some churners you can, there is a lever that you crank, but that's churning, right? So imagine, if we're talking about water churning, you see this very agitated water as if somebody is churning it, okay? Okay, so there was the churning, the water, and leaping. Leap is a big jump. If I'm not wrong, that guy who stepped on the moon for the first time, some people translate his sentence as pequeno passo para o homem, mas grande passo para a humanidade. There's this possible translation. That's not the nice translation. The nice translation is pequeno passo para o homem, grande salto para a humanidade, because in the original is a small step for a man, a big leap for humankind. Okay, so this is leap. Leap necessarily is a big one, in opposition to hop. Hop is like a small jump, and jump can be like small or big depending on the situation. In long jumps after the bait, they were circling it and driving it. Okay, so apparently there is this strategy of fish, right? You have lots of small fish swimming together as a school, as they do swim, and then the other fish start going around, so all of the bait fish in this case are crammed together, and it's easier to hunt, right? Sometimes they are driven to the surface. If they don't travel too fast, I will get into them. the old man thought, and he watched the school working the water white. The fish were, churning the water so much that it became white, because of the foam, of course. And he watched the school working the water white. And the bird now dropping and dipping into the bait fish that were forced to the surface in their panic. Look, let me try another sentence here. We could say something like, he exploded, maybe. Because what I want here, guys, of course I should have prepared better, but what I want here is to give you a notion that this construction, working the water white, is kind of common in English. Working the water so that it became white, I don't know, she rubbed the ball dry. Okay, it's not the best example, but it's a construction you should have in mind. She rubbed the ball dry, So she rubbed the ball so much that it became dry. Okay? Try to construct other things. So the construction is do something, right? To something. So do, the object, and the adjective. Okay? She painted the house blue, of course, but that's too simple. Well, you can stop there and try other examples. And the bird now dropping and dipping into the bait fish that were forced to the surface in their panic. So imagine this scene, the bigger fish are circling and attacking, this school of very small fish from the sides and from under. So the fish had to go close to the surface. When the fish went close to the surface, the birds would dip and catch them. And apparently the birds the fish don't have to be so close to the surface. I don't know if it's the case here, but some birds can can dive more than 4 meters, something like that, something incredible. If you know exactly that information, please let me know. Working the water white. Okay, and the bird now dropping and dipping into the bait fish that were forced to the surface in their panic. The bird is a great help, the old man said. Just then, the stern, the back, right? The back of the boat. Just then the stern line came taut. Okay? Taut. If a line is taut, it's stretched. Okay? The line came taut. The line became taut under his foot, where he had kept a loop, when the line is like this, of line, and he dropped his oars and felt the weight of the small tunas shivering, like shaking lightly, pull as he held the line firm and commenced to haul it, to bring it on board. The shivering increased as he pulled in, and he could see the blue back of the fish in the water, and the gold of his sides before he swung him over the side and into the boat. Okay, so he swung him over and put the fish into the boat. The fish here, he lay in the stern in the sun, compact and bullet-shaped, his big, unintelligent eyes staring as he thumped his life out against the planking of the boat. Thump, you can thump your feet. Okay? So he thumped, so he would like jump all over and then you would hear the thump, right? Until his life was gone. Another peculiar construction. I will try to record videos in the future just to give you many examples of those constructions. I want to do it now because I feel this video is getting too big. So the unintelligent eyes staring as he, the fish, thumped his life out against the planking, you know, the wood that formed the boat with the quick shivering strokes of his neat, fast-moving tail. The old man hit him on the head for kindness and kicked him, his body still shuddering, shaking lightly, you know, under the shade of the stern. Albacore, he said aloud. He'll make a beautiful bait. He'll weigh 10 pounds. So think about the fish he wants to catch, right? The bait fish is about 10 pounds, so it's what, like almost 5 kilos. He did not remember when he had first started to talk aloud when he was by himself. He had sung when he was by himself in the old days, and he had sung at night sometimes when he was alone, steering on his watch in the smacks or in the turtle boats. A smack is a kind of ship with I think more than one mast, and the steering is like driving, you know, the boat. He had probably started to talk aloud when alone, when the boy had left, but he did not remember. When he and the boy fished together, they usually spoke only when it was necessary. They talked at night or when they were storm-bound. Storm-bound is going in the direction of the storm, okay? There is a movie and a book called Hellbound, a horror movie, you know, because that guy is going to hell, Hellbound, right? There is another one called Southbound. They're going to the south. So when they were storm-bound, they talked by bad weather. The construction there. They were storm-bound by bad weather. It was considered a virtue not to talk unnecessarily at sea, and the old man had always considered it so and respected it. But now he said his thought aloud many times, since there was no one there they could annoy. If the others heard me talking out loud, they would think that I'm crazy, he said aloud. But since I'm not crazy, I do not care. And the rich have radios to talk to them in their boats and to bring them the baseball. Now is no time to think of baseball, he thought. Now is the time to think of only one thing, that which I was born for. That which I was born for. So he strongly believes that he was born to fish. And even though he needs the money, even though he really wants, you know, to catch the fish for, I don't know, for the respect. You know, I've read many interpretations of this book saying that he went out on the sea to try to gain the respect he had in the community, try to gain the respect back. I have my doubts about that interpretation. I don't know what you think. It seems that it's not self-pride. That would be bad pride. You know, he just wants to catch big fish so that he'll be recognized as a great fisherman. You know, it doesn't seem so. It doesn't seem so. And even though he does need the money, of course he needs the money, I think when we read a sentence like this, he was born to fish, and the way he fishes, the way he respects the ocean, I think that's the point. He was born to fish and he is doing what he should be doing, you know? Will there be benefits? Yes, there will, but originally he's fishing because he was born to fish, you know? It seems like the same thing, but it's not, you know? It's a matter of priority. It's a matter of what do you have in mind when you're doing something, you know? A little bit like, you know, what we're doing here. By reading this book, if you have gotten so far, congratulations, by the way, of course you are acquiring vocabulary. Of course, you know, your English is becoming better. Of course, let's imagine when you're reading any kind of literature, I don't know, you will be able to tell people and, you know, you're going to be respected. And that's all fine. But I really believe that literature, when you are reading it or appreciating art, shouldn't be, let's say, sought after. People shouldn't seek literature for the benefits literature has, you know? You should read literature because literature is beautiful, and you're going to get something, okay? But it's like as if it's side effect, a little bit like your vocation, right? You're going to do that. Of course, you're going to get money. Of course, if you're good at it, you're going to be respected. But it's not your job, your vocation that serves you. You serve your vocation, right? And this is what the old man is doing. You know, first he does what he should be doing. And then maybe he'll get the benefits of it. Maybe not. And even if he doesn't get the benefits, let's imagine he's not recognized. Let's imagine he doesn't get any money. He's not frustrated because he's called to fish. That's what he should be doing, you know? Benefits are like pleasures, extra. Okay? That which I was born for. There might be a big one around that school, he thought. I picked up only a straggler from the albacore that were feeding. Okay, a straggler, imagine you were walking, you know, and the group is there ahead, you know, everybody is walking, but you don't have physical preparation, so you are behind, you are a straggler. I think I've told you about that word before. I told you about lions hunting, you know, they get a straggler zebra. It's much easier than getting a zebra in the group. A straggler from the albacore that were feeding, but they are working far out and fast. Everything that shows on the surface today travels very fast and to the northeast. Can that be the time of day? Or is it some sign of weather that I do not know?